take a look at the local dailies in depth.
Right, matters education getting a lot of prominence on the front page of the Daily Nation as we continue with the KCSE exams. Senior school fees shocker for parents. Remember, the very first cohort of junior secondary school, the very first cohort that will be experiencing senior school has just finished their exams this week, on Monday this week. This is the first time we're going to be experiencing senior school, which is only for 3 years. So, these are the changes. Changes for this 1.1 million pioneers of the competency-based education. Progress to the next level will hit the pockets of their parents and guardians hard, as a majority of them will now be required to pay higher fees. In new guidelines released by the Education Ministry, learners in day schools will, for the first time since 2015, pay 9,374 shillings annually, while those in all boarding schools, all boarding institutions, all will be charged a flat rate of 53,554 each. This does not matter kama unaenda shule ilikuwa inakuwa considered sijui ni national ama nini, ama extra county ama all boarding institutions, zile za serikali, flat rate 53,554. And that story is what is on pages 4 and 5. That's a big one because for parents like myself, tabiri nianze kujipanga. Watu walifanya mtihani, sasa inakuja. All right, pages 4 and 5, and they actually do some breakdown there. They also give us senior school guidelines, good for learners, says Education CS. That's a story there. Still on matters education away from senior school hapa chini, and we still have the CS for education there. I think this is his day in the papers. Wanasema kuna picha pale, University's Academic Staff Union Secretary General Constantine Wasonga and Education CS Julius Migos Ogamba at Jogoo House yesterday, where they signed a return to work formula to bring to an end a 49-day pay strike by public university lecturers and staff. So finally, a breakthrough and a breakdown of what is in that deal. A total of 7.7 billion shillings to be paid out in 2 equal tranches. That's part of the deal. So the Daily Nation talks about inside this deal that ended 49-day varsity dawn strike. So wale vijana wa universities, munarudi darasani. Pale juu some political headline, Ruto's political conundrum, ODM blackmail and 2027 bid. Nakumbuka ODM walisema, at least according to the interim party leader, it's a DP's position or nothing. All right. Back page. FIFA launches Peace Prize as World Cup draws call. Apro as Chebet Kipyegon miss out on final list again. This is the World Athletics Awards. Hey, sasa kama Kipyegon apati award, ni nani anapata? If Faith Kipyegon cannot be awarded. Na ameshinda ile 1500 meters constantly, break record after record. How now? Anyway, that's a Daily Nation.
All right. Quick, the Standard, help, we are dying. Please save us. And they say, Mr. President, don't turn your back. As the world's deadliest war grinds on, Kenya's forgotten sons are bleeding on the Russian front lines, trapped by deceit and abandoned by diplomacy. President William Ruto and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, who vowed swift action nearly 2 weeks ago, have gone silent as families drown in anguish, begging for news of their children. And this photo here, we see John Kariuki with his wife Rahab Mudhoni, parents of missing ex-KDF soldier Samuel Maina, as they hold portraits of their 31-year-old son at their home in Kilimambogo, Kiambu County. Maina is reported to be in Russia and has been missing for several months. And below, there's a photo there, a Russian soldier and foreign fighters, including Kenyans. This story has been covered in page 6 and 7. Help, we are dying. Mr. President, don't turn your back. They say tens of Kenyans on the Russian war front, unsure of what the minutes hold. They were lured to Moscow with promises of good-paying jobs, only to land in barracks. Now, the number of Kenyans said to be fighting for Russia in the war with Ukraine, the figure has been disputed. with those repatriated saying it is in the hundreds, but this newspaper is reporting 82 and they're saying it's an odd number. Rahab here, Rahab Muthoni, the mother of the missing Kenyan, she's quoted here on page 7, anasema, he told me they were not being paid and that life was becoming unbearable. I just want my son back. And the Foreign Affairs CS is also quoted, the mission rescued several Kenyans from those held at military bases and facilitated emergency travel documents to ensure their safe return back to their families. Of Russia war strategy and Kenyans who want nothing to do with it but to come back. That's the only story covered on the front page of the Standard. Other quick headlines here. This one is interesting. It's on page 3. Influencer Azed Nasenya sues Sacco in 20 million shillings property dispute. Anasema, I live in the suit property and I have a very clear intention of repaying the facility granted to me by the first defendants as I am no longer in arrears. All right. Relief for university students, our staff signed return to work deal. We've talked about that. And ODM demand for DP position threatens Kindiki's prospects is another story covered on page 4. On the back page, Liverpool have eyes on the prize. Leaders Bayern and second place Arsenal maintain perfect record. And Europa League winners Tottenham win 4-0 at home to FC Copenhagen. That's the Standard.
All right, from the Standard tuende kwa Taifa Leo, wanazungumzia masuala ya Tanzania na Kenya. Mwili wa Mkenya aliyeuawa Tanzania uko wapi? Ni swali kwenye ukurasa wa mbele. Familia ya mwalimu Mkenya aliyeuawa wakati wa uchaguzi tata Tanzania yataka mwili wake ili iuzike Kenya. Mwalimu John Ogutu aliripotiwa kuuawa katika maandamano wakati wa uchaguzi nchini Tanzania. Walioshuhudia tukio hilo wanasema marehemu alifariki baada ya kufyatuliwa risasi na polisi. Familia yataka Wizara ya Kigeni isaidie kupata mwili huo. So unajua ni hadithi kama hizi zitaleta utata, sababu unakumbuka Rais Samia alisema wengi ambao walishikwa ama walikamatwa wengine wakauawa Tanzania hawakuwa wa Tanzania. Ni kweli kuna wengine walikuwa wa Kenya. Hatujui kama walikuwa baadhi ya wale walikuwa kwenye streets, lakini kuna Mkenya mmoja anasemekana aliuawa. Kando na hayo, maporomoko waathiriwa walilia msaada ni habari nyingine pale, ambapo Elgeyo Marakwet wale waliokufa na mkasa wa maporomoko ya ardhi walifika 30. Kwingineko mgomo wa waathiri wamalizika, tumezungumzia hayo. Pale juu masharti ya ODM yamla Ruto kichwa, ameambiwa ni naibu wa rais au nothing. Na kwingine agizo jipya kuhusu karo ya bweni mwaka ujao la shtua. Ni shule za upili za malazi bila kujali viwango kulipa shilingi 53,000. Gazeti la Taifa Leo.
All right, People Daily, inside Ruto's cash grip on parties, how lack of funds could shape 2027 election. This story is on page 4, and they say Treasury delays in releasing the political parties' funds spark fresh political tension. Ruling UDA continues smooth operations, fueling claims of an even playing field. Opposition accuses the government of using delayed disbursements to weaken rivals. Smaller parties struggle to pay staff, run offices, or mobilize at grassroots level. And Treasury defends itself, citing fiscal pressure and revenue shortfalls, not politics. Purse strings, how lack of funds could shape 2027 election. This story is on page 4 of the People Daily. Kuleju, Gen Z, it's time to step out of the comfort zone and take charge. There's another story on page 6, People and Politics. That's the People Daily.
On the People Daily, we go to a very interesting headline on matters that nothing to do with politics. Proposed law to ban sale of embryos and surrogacy fees. That story is on page 2. They talk about MPs are moving to ban paid surrogacy in new bill. Kenya wameanza kuadopt a lot of new things on how to get children. So lawmakers are considering a bill which, if enacted, would impose a ban on commercial surrogacy. So kama una offer kuwa surrogate haulipwi, ujitolee. Yeah. That is where couples with conception problems pay a woman to carry their child for a full term. It also involves the selling or buying of a human embryo or trading in the same. Surrogate mothers can be hired by way of giving payment, reward benefit of fees, or other monetary incentives, but this law is proposing to ban all that. Hakuna exchange of money. Ukikubali kuwa surrogate mother, fanya kwa bure. Yes. Anyway, interesting because anyway, it could lead to black markets, mambo ya chini chini huko, with its own problems. Lecturers call off 49-day strike after salary deal is a story featured there also. How pay for civil servants is training development is a story on page 4 and 5. And parents of Down syndrome kids call for more special needs, schools rather. And this, I think, to be honest, this one stands out. When they say that fresh, independent, different, the Star definitely stands out in its coverage of something that as big as this. And say it will be illegal to advertise surrogacy services or import genetic material. Kuna wale walikuwa sema una advertise unasema me I'm ready to be a surrogate. Leteni tu pesa mimi nitafanya hiyo kazi. Yeah. That's a Star. Fresh, independent, different. Grab yourself a copy.
All right, finally, Nairobi Securities Exchange valuation nears 3 trillion shillings milestone as shares surge. And they say NSC leaving the house. Investors seeking higher returns have piled into the NSC, leaving the bourse on the verge of hitting 3 trillion shillings market capitalization for the first time in history. And the Nairobi bourse yesterday closed at least 2.9 trillion shillings, up from 2.4 trillion in mid-July, offering investors a return of $500 billion shillings in that period. This story is on page 2. And why Kenya Power is rationing electricity to some areas. Hey, ndio nyingine imeleta mambo pale social media. Lakini this newspaper is reporting that Kenya Power is rationing electricity due to reduced supply in what has forced the country to increasingly rely on Ethiopia and Uganda for its energy needs. And President William Ruto made the stark admission on Tuesday, revealing that Kenya Power has been forced to cut off electricity supplies to some regions between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. as the country grapples with reduced local generation. And anasema in Kenya between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. we have, this is the president quoted here, we have to load shed, we have to shut off power in some areas to be able to power others because our energy is not enough. And Dr. Ruto said while addressing, alikuwa wapi kule?
Kwa Qatar.
In Qatar, I wanted to confirm that. On the ticker, the Competition Authority of Kenya okays French investors 3.5 billion shillings telco tower farm deal. Hiring stalls despite strong business activity jump, and Kenya snubs 129 billion shillings UAE loan for Eurobonds. That's the business daily.
All right, so those are some of the big conversations across board from business, health, education, and politics. And we'll be back to take a look at some of them with my panelists after the break. Tuangazie